of the most important ingredients in the Mediterranean diet is beans. And if you're eating the Mediterranean way every day, you're eating plenty of them. But what's the number one reason people don't eat more beans? You guessed it. It's that bloaty, gassy feeling that comes with eating beans and what happens next. Nobody I know likes to fart, whether you can hear it or just know it's in the wind. Today, I'm going to teach you how to cook beans so that you can enjoy this super healthy protein. And no, you're not going to be passing gas all day because there are easy ways to make them more digestible, less gassy, and a lot more flavorful. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few tips and teach you a few tricks to turn these humble little seeds into a daily diet essential. And toward the end, I'll share a few more ideas about ways to enjoy beans every day. So why do beans and other cruciferous veggies like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower give you gas? It breaks down to a pretty simple story. Beans, legumes, and other cruciferous vegetables are complex carbs, and they contain two types of indigestible sugars, oligosaccharides and raffinose. Instead of being processed in your small intestine, these sugars make their way into your large intestine where they go through fermentation as they're digested, and the byproduct of that process is gas. Even though it might seem like fermentation is a bad thing, it's anything but. The process is really good for gut health because it builds up good bacteria. But if you can release some of those sugars before you eat them, it can be a lot easier on your digestive tract. We'll get into how to reduce that gas in a minute, but right now, I want to remind everybody why beans are such a big important part of the Mediterranean diet. Number one, fiber-rich. Most people don't get enough fiber every day, but beans are packed with fiber that can keep you feeling fuller longer and help you manage your weight and your cholesterol. Plus, eating beans can decrease the risk of lots of chronic diseases. But while fiber is really good to keep your poop on a regular schedule, too much of a good thing, especially when you're not used to it, can cause bloating and gas. So it's a good idea to start slow and build up. As you increase the amount of beans in your everyday diet, your body's going to naturally adjust to all that healthy goodness. Number two, low-fat, low-cost protein. Beans are one of the most affordable sources of healthy plant-based protein, with none of the downside of animal-based protein that's a lot more expensive and comes with unhealthy saturated fats. So what's great for your gut is also great for your wallet. Number three, blood sugar balance. By providing bulk from fiber and slowing digestion, beans can also help stabilize blood sugar levels because the longer it takes for your body to process, the more evenly distributed the nutrients are. No big spikes or sharp drops. Number four, long life. If you're looking to get in a few more years, it helps to know that the anti-inflammatory power of beans is the cornerstone of Blue Zone diets. Can a cup of beans every day add 4 years to your life? Well, at least some pros seem to think so, and I'm with them. At its very simplest, all it takes is a good long soak in water before cooking, because an overnight soak can help remove up to 75, almost 90% of those indigestible sugars and make it easy for your body to digest all these pearly little gems. But we also want the beans to be their creamiest and tastiest. So while water can do the trick, a few more simple ingredients will elevate those beans from chalky to luscious. And if we're going to take the time to soak them, why not? There might be some differences of opinion about whether to use salt or baking soda or not, but I'm firmly in the camp of adding a combination of both. Following the recommendation of cookbook author and food science nerd Nick Sharma, I find the best beans are going to come from soaking them in a brine of 1 3/4 teaspoons of baking soda, 3 tablespoons of kosher salt, 8.5 cups or 2 liters of water, and 1 pound of beans, or about 4 cups. Depending on the variety of beans and how fresh they are, some thin-skinned smaller beans take no time at all to prep, like lentils, black-eyed peas, and black beans. No soaking required. Others, like big, beautiful navy beans and pinto beans and chickpeas, definitely benefit from a good soak from 4 to 8 hours. And if your beans have been in the cupboard for a long time, or you're not sure how fresh they were when you bought them, it could take a bit longer. For starters, pick through the beans and make sure there's no rocks, debris, split, or shriveled beans. And then give them a quick rinse to remove any dust or dirt. Depending on how much time you have 4 choices: a quick soak, hot soak, overnight soak, or canned beans. Quick 1-hour soak. Cover the beans with brine, bring them to a boil over high heat. Remove from the heat and let them rest for an hour. Then drain the brine, rinse the beans, and go ahead with your recipe. Hot 4-hour soak. This one is a professional kitchen favorite. Just like the quick soak, you'll bring these beans to a boil, but keep them on the heat for 2 to 3 minutes. Then remove them from the heat, cover, and let them soak for no more than 4 hours. Then drain them and rinse the beans and start cooking. Overnight 8-hour soak. Cover the beans with brine to ensure that as they plump, they'll still be submerged. I usually cook 2 cups of dried beans at a time, so I use half of the brine recipe. And I like to use my salad spinner with the colander in it, and you'll see why in a minute, or in this case, 8 hours. It's best if you have a space in the fridge to do it, because after 8 hours, the beans will start to ferment and could introduce other bacteria into the process. Then just drain and rinse the beans when you're done. After a good overnight soak, the beans will be almost double in size. The skin should be smoothed and not cracked. Of course, if you're using canned beans from the cupboard, the most important thing you can do is just rinse them really well to get rid of some of the salt used in the canning process. And there's no shame in using good quality canned beans. While convenience comes at a cost, they come in super handy in a pinch and still give you all the important healthy quality of beans. Just in a more expensive, slightly mushier, flavorless form, but you can doctor them up with spices and herbs when you're ready to use them. Drain the brine, rinse the beans, and fill your pot with enough salted water to cover the beans by 3 inches. Add your aromatics like onion, garlic, carrot, celery, fennel, leeks, herbs like rosemary, sage, bay leaf, and flavor favorites. If you're into the Japanese seaweed kombu, adding a strip or 2 helps break down the raffinose and adds this really rich umami flavor. Bring the beans to a boil, then reduce the pot to a very gentle simmer. They should be swaying around, not bouncing around. Skim the foam from time to time, adding hot water if necessary to keep the beans covered. Start checking to see if they're done after 1 hour and periodically after that. They're ready if you can smash a few into a soft paste with a spoon or in your mouth. And always test more than one. Beans can vary from batch to batch and they don't always cook at the same evenness. The cooking liquid is really important for both cooking the beans and storing the beans, so don't pour it out. If you're not using the beans right away, let them cool completely and then store them in their liquid in the fridge or the freezer. Instant pots or pressure cookers are time savers and lifesavers for lots of people, and I use mine for soups and stews too. But when it comes to cooking beans, I'll stick with the stovetop method, where I can monitor the beans and make sure they're done when I think they are, not when the appliance timer says so. I've had too many times when the pressure cooker is finished and the beans aren't, and then I have to resort to finishing them on the stovetop anyway. If you really want to go this route, just expect it'll take some trial and error for you to figure out what pressure and time it'll take to cook the beans just the way you like them. Beans are wonderful meal prep ingredients that'll last in the fridge for 4 to 5 days and up to 6 months in the freezer. Just make sure you store them covered in their liquid. But chances are you're not going to have to store them for long because they're one of the most versatile pantry staples in your arsenal. And if you want a few ideas to get you started, just make them into the star of the show in soups, stews, or chilies. Blend them into a silky smooth dip or a savory hummus for a pre-dinner treat. Dress them with lemon, olive oil, herbs, and parsley for a healthy side dish. And now that you're ready to discover more Mediterranean ways to enjoy beans every day, just click on this playlist right now.